Hi everyone, I'm so happy that you're here to join me for the Way of the Animal podcast.
Let's talk about happiness.
Okay. We actually started talking about it yesterday, didn't we? Because you showed me a quote.
Yes, I showed you something that Jordan Peterson had written on a YouTube post thing. I don't quite know how you do that, YouTube with letters but no actual video. Anyway, and it was about happiness, and the cliff notes of it was that happiness is easy to kind of lose, or it kind of comes and goes. It's easy to be knocked off of being happy, and so maybe it's not a good basis for supporting yourself and keeping yourself moving forward. The premise was put forward that it was more adventure was the word used to keep you motivated and in a positive light. I thought it was quite an interesting thing because that's the question is happiness hard to hang on to, hard to create? Is it easy to lose it? When you lose it, is it hard to get back? I don't know. It seemed interesting.
It was interesting because we started talking about it, and the feeling I got from his post, his words, was that he still thought that happiness was something that was outside of you, that was to be found outside of you.
Yes.
Because he spoke, I think he used a boat analogy or something like that. He's talked about floating on happiness or something like that, like it was outside the boat.
Yeah.
Like happiness.
Using happiness to float your boat.
Yeah. So it's like happiness is outside of you, but perhaps that's not what he intended to mean, and perhaps that's what I perceived from.
Well, that's a whole different interesting topic.
But just for me, something that I discovered in the last year or so about happiness was happiness comes from within you. It's not to do with anything that happens outside of you. You don't need to wait for something to happen for you to be happy. You don't need to be in that perfect job or have that perfect lifestyle or, be retired and then you'll be happy, or, you get your favorite car, you'll be happy, or you have to go to be with other people to be happy. It's like happiness starts from within you.
It's one of those things. I think happiness is a choice. Now that sounds really, really arrogant, maybe, because happiness is a choice. It is from within you, and you can choose to be happy. Right now, in this moment, you can choose to be happy. It's not an easy choice. If you're not happy, if you're in a dark place, to choose happiness, it's easy. Just choose happiness. It doesn't quite work like that. But it is a choice. It's
also like, it almost sounds too simple, especially for people who struggle. I'm looking straight back at myself, struggle with happiness sometimes, that or finding it or being it, or however it is that happiness comes about. You just choose to be happy. Well, thanks for making it so crazy simple that it just makes me like sound incapable of it. When it comes down to it, I totally agree. It is that simple, but there's two thoughts that have come through just like rapid fire there. The main one was, do you think the problem is with humanity, people, and life is we take it too seriously?
That's an interesting one. Yeah, probably we do take life way too seriously, and it's really easy to get hung up on things that really don't matter. And even as far as things that do matter, once they're past, to still be hung up on them. Like this terrible thing happened to me 2 days ago, and I'm still really bummed. Like, it happened 2 days ago. I'm sorry, but it happened 2 days ago. You can't change it now. That's the reality of the world we live in. Until someone makes a time machine, it happened.
That's harsh. I think
it is harsh.
I totally get you with that.
Just let it go.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, because you did real well at that last week. I'll let you off. We'll not go down that route. But it's that it does take time for your emotions to be processed, your thoughts to be processed, and it all to be let go of. Like, I can understand 2 days ago something bad happened, and yeah. But if you keep focusing on what went wrong instead of now moving forwards and allowing that energy to leave you in whatever form or way it made you feel, then that's not going to help. So you got to focus on moving forwards.
It's really interesting because actually what comes to mind is something we have talked about before, is with the animals and with the dogs especially, something stressful or negative, unhelpful, however you want to phrase it, happens to them and they get wound up. They quite often maybe a shake, a roll on the ground or something, let it go, move forwards.
Yeah.
And they just shake it off and, okay, that happened, but
there's also the added physical response that happens, like cortisol takes 24 hours to leave your body. So, even though they've I suppose in a way they've managed to process it and let go of what happened in that way.
Let the cortisol drop down.
Then the cortisol will start dropping down, and then they will continue to feel better.
And it's like this getting stuck in this fight or flight response, fight, flight or freeze response.
Yeah.
Is that if you never let that cortisol level drop down, because you're constantly replaying the...
Yeah, it's like your nervous system also can get stuck.
Yes.
Which is what we've been talking about, because I've been recognizing that in myself, is that my nervous system gets triggered and then it gets stuck in, it's called dorsal vagal shutdown. But it's to do with your nervous system gets stuck in this freeze response, and it can be quite a slow process to get out of it.
So like it's overwhelm and then it kind of shuts down to protect itself
Absolutely.
from the overwhelm, but then it's hard for it to fire back up again.
And I think it involves also your subconscious, because you want to feel safe, and when you're in the shutdown you're safe. When you're not, your subconscious thinks you're not safe, whereas in reality whatever triggered it has been and gone, and it's now safe to come back online.
I 100% agree with that, and it is a lot to do with, because saying choose happiness, it sounds like a commercial. Choose happiness today.
Is there a song or something?
There could be, but that is very much linked to your subconscious, because you can consciously say, I'm going to choose happiness. And your subconscious can sit in the back there going, oh, no, you're not.
Yeah.
No. You don't deserve to choose happiness. You deserve to be miserable. And that's the sort of story that it...
Yeah, it's a pre-programmed way of being. It's like you're looking... We've talked about it before, looking for good things or looking for bad things in your day. And, people talk a lot about the power of gratitude. And I think we've talked about this before as well, and just focusing on what you're grateful for. But something that I was going to mention earlier was with happiness is, it's like, for some reason, I've always thought that it was something where it's this constant state. Once you find it, you're in it, and that's it.
Constant happiness. Yeah. No, I've tried that. If you walk around with a big smile on your face all day, people start to look at you weird.
And so I've realised that it's just, that's not what life is. And, there's ups and downs, and you're not always happy, but you can feel happier or better in any situation.
Yeah.
By looking at what you're thinking of, looking at what you're focusing on.
And so for me, it's very easy to choose happiness. Because
did you choose it last week?
I did repeatedly. So I was trying to go down to get our new puppy that was in the last episode, Callan, from America, and I was stuck on the border for 72 hours because I had to have a form filled in to be allowed to cross the border, and it takes somewhere between an hour or two. So I said, that's fine, I'll just sit and wait. And it took a full 72 hours. So I sat twiddling my thumbs for 72 hours. And I'm not the most, patient of people. So it was difficult for me. But I did choose happiness repeatedly because I had to repeatedly remind myself of positive things. But that's the thing. I find it easy to, when I start to feel I'm in a funk, to say, okay, look for something to make you smile.
Is it easy?
Oh, well, okay.
Easy?
I don't know easy if it's the right word. To say to myself, look for something positive, look for something happy, look at this good thing, and it brightens my day.
Yeah. And I still haven't touched on the point that I keep meaning to touch on, is that I've realised that happiness isn't a constant state. It kind of can be, but it isn't. What happiness, to me, what I've realised about it is connected moments in time of happiness.
I like that.
So it's like from each moment to the next, because everything's changing from each moment to the next. And it's just about reminding yourself in each moment where you are, who you're being, and just connecting in with the feeling of happiness, with what makes you happy, with, you know.
Yeah. And that's certainly the way I feel about happiness as well. And I feel that it is that thing that you look at happiness to, like you say, to be all the time, but it's not all the time. It's choosing moment to moment the happiness and sort of stepping from one stepping stone to the next. But the interesting thing is, why is it so easy to choose unhappiness?
I think we get into the way of doing that. Like, I think
so you think it's a habit? So you think
yeah.
you could form the habit to choose happiness instead?
I mean, something that comes to mind is being intentional.
Yeah.
So just even creating the way that you want things to be before you do them. So it brings me back to Abraham Hicks stuff. So I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of their talks and things, and read the books, and the premise of being intentional. So each connected moment in time, so you get in your vehicle to go on a journey, and before you set off, intend how you want to be. I want to be in flow with the traffic. I want to be safe. I want to feel peaceful as I do it, and calm, and not feel stressed, and just,
so like preemptively choosing happiness. Yeah.
So it's like you create the reality you want in your mind, and actually you end up picturing yourself doing it in that way and feeling that way as you do it. And yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily full on happiness, but I'd be happy if a journey turns out well. I'm not hitting every red light. There's not bad traffic.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better when when I'm in flow, when everything is easy.
So would it make you feel worse if you did hit every red light after sitting and being like, I want it to be flowing, not much traffic?
I found that it's never been that way.
Well,
but when I haven't been intentional, and it doesn't even bother me. So I've taken the premise with vehicles, driving, traffic, things like that. Other than intending to have a safe journey, is that anything that gets in your way in your journey is actually just something that is keeping you away from something that isn't good for you.
I like that positive spin on it, because it's the side I like to take is that there's nothing that happens that you can't deal with. And you might be delayed by an hour because of bad traffic, but well, you know what, that's fine.
But perhaps you're delayed by an hour and you miss a truck that pulls out of a junction at the exact time it would have hit you if you'd been there an hour before.
I've seen Final Fantasy.
Exactly. No, Final Destination.
Final Fantasy is a computer game. That's it.
Final Destination.
Destination, that's it.
Yeah, but that, and I'm not saying that is what it is, but I feel like if I believe that that's why I'm hitting every red light in town when I'm just wanting to get home, it's just because that is the safest way for me to get home.
Yep, I like that. So, because it's that perception thing. It is, you're adjusting the perception of these delays are helping me.
Yeah. So you can, so it's like you can create your own stories in whatever way you want, But
it's a helpful story rather than it's so frustrating.
So in that way, I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm joyfully happy, but I'm not getting frustrated. I'm not getting angry. I'm not, then driving erratically because I'm getting held up, I'm late. It's just like, well, it is what it is, you know.
I very much like that is what it is. Because it's the interesting thing that a lot of people, and I think society as a whole, finds it easier to choose negative. And I don't know, is that a culture thing? Is it a evolution thing? Is it like, I don't know where it comes from. It's,
No.
the saying, there's no, what's it? Bad news is good news? No. You know the saying.
I can't think of it now you've said that.
Neither can I. I had to tell earlier.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Everyone knows what it is.
All news is... No.
The best news is bad news?
No.
Whatever. It's something like that. Bad news sells.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Positive,
well, it's like that
heartwarming news stories
we're
don't
going,
sell.
We're going off topic, but we're not. That negative bias.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a whole other thing, but whatever, we're going to talk about it, is something that the news and social media, anything like that you are viewing tends to have a negative bias. And it can put you into a negative way of being.
Yep.
Because the stories that they tell, because it's not necessarily fact. There's facts in it on the news, but it's not necessarily all fact, and no one really knows the truth a lot of the times with some things that are going on. That they can create a story that sells well in a way that they want to, and they are telling you how to think and how to feel and how to be about whatever they are showing you.
On a side note, we should so do a podcast on stories. But that's it. But why? Why is a negative bias? Why isn't it everything's a positive bias? Why isn't it positive spin on everything? Because our world...
Yeah, like you said, it's because it sells better for some
but
reason.
Why?
Because people like doom and gloom, apparently.
Why? Like, why don't you all like to be happy?
No wonder we don't choose happiness. We like to be miserable.
It is one of those weird things, isn't it? When you sit back and you think about it, there's no other creature alive that chooses doom and gloom.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very interesting.
Like, why do people choose? And we can sort of say that it's a catch-22 in that media promotes doom and gloom, so then you feel more doom and gloom, so then it sells better doom and gloom, and it just feeds back on itself, which, sure, maybe. But it had to start from somewhere. At some point, it had to have turned that doom and gloom sold better than positivity.
Yeah.
And because let's face it, everything is capitalism. So, why? I want to know why.
Absolutely.
Because
I don't have the answer.
This is why people don't choose happiness.
Yeah. And I suppose if it's been a long running thing, then it's come from parents and parents before parents and parents before parents.
Yeah.
And like does it just get programmed in from an early age? Like, do we focus on... Yeah, it's interesting. You know?
Because I have no idea, because a lot of things you see, meditation, self-help, everything about trying to, choose happiness. And because people struggle to pick that route, people find it much easier to pick a less helpful route.
Is it because they're letting life happen to them?
And not for them.
So they're not choosing how they're being. We're not choosing how we're being. We're not focusing on what we want. We're not being intentional. We're just living life as it is and hating it.
Could be.
Not creating the reality that we could have.
It kind of makes me think about, we watch a lot of these things of the Get Out of the Rat Race and, what was that, Ben Fogle, New Lives in the Wild. There's definitely something in modern culture that is that rat race. It is the high stress, push, drive, do this, do that. Don't stop and smell the flowers. Don't enjoy your, work's not meant to be fun.
Until something happens. It's always until something happens.
That's usually what you hear in these stories. And
people see the light.
I had a near-death experience.
Or
this happened.
Not even that. My mum died. It's like something happened. Something triggers them to go, whoa, what am I doing with my life?
And then they change everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that makes me think of, there was a Tony Robbins thing, and he was talking about change. And he said, in all these things, when it boils down to it, and when you really look closely at it, change is like a millisecond. From you to go from perpetually choosing unhappiness to choosing happiness, it's just like a tiny little blip there. That's where you made the decision. There's a big build up to making that decision, but...
it's that whole thing. It is quite simple to do.
It's really simple to do.
It's just...
to get to the point you need to make it.
You're like we were talking about before, I can't remember what podcast, but creating new habits, you know? Just like changing how... So you start the day focusing on how you want to be, what you want to happen, and focusing on that from the beginning of the day. Yeah, no, that, and then that, I mean, that's how you build new habits. That's how the connected moments. You know, it's like you have to start somewhere, so start, and then you'll, you know, and it's that whole thing as you're learning something and as you're changing your habits, you go off course a bit and you're like, whoops! Yeah. And you remind yourself. And to start with, you are reprogramming your subconscious, which doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while to change those stories and to be able to look at the unhelpful stories you tell yourself and say, no, well, that's not actually right now. But it's also as a lot as well about feeling. And so, like, for me, I enjoy meditation because and it's taken, like, I've been doing it for years. It's not like I've just picked up meditation and gone, yes, this is great. Meditation can be hard and meditation can be easy, even now, and I've been doing it for years. But I can create a feeling within me where I'm just connected with myself and I just feel so at peace and just so right that I can create whatever feeling I want. So I can feel that happiness within me. And that's that gratitude thing. It's like I can focus on what I'm grateful for, you know, you and the dogs and being out here in Canada and just feeling how good that makes me feel. And that's also then like telling your whole body, your whole energy, everything about you. So it's more than just your head and your mind and your thoughts. Yeah. And choosing those. It's more about as well feeling the feeling of it too. Feeling the happiness and feeling that throughout your day. And so that's how you use meditation a lot, is to connect in with that positive, helpful feelings. I mean, when I connect in with myself. So when I find myself under all the thoughts, which can be completely unhelpful, and just actually find that peace. And, you know, some days I find it and some days I don't. I'm not saying like it's easy to do, but you're there. Like your whole soul of peace is there if you sit still without the modern distractions of everything else that's going on and go beyond your thoughts and just feel who you are. You'll feel a greater sense of confidence and peace and sureness. Like I always feel such sureness. Confidence wasn't the word I wanted. It was sureness of who I am. Yeah. And when I'm in that state, like nothing can faze you. No. Because, and then we realize, well, if that's who I am, then nothing can faze me. Like, yeah, it's going to knock me about and it's going to be a bit challenging, but you can handle anything that comes. All the negative bias and the negative thoughts that come up and the emotions that come through, underneath all that, when you find that inner peace, I know people talk about it, it may seem completely off the wall, but honestly, when you find that, especially if you have struggled with your own mental health, or you struggle like me with a lot of negative thoughts that just bring you down, like finding who you are on the inside and that peace, just, yeah. It's interesting because I don't meditate a lot, much at all, but I do have times when there's a lot going on, a high build-up of stress at work or whatever, and I'm very fortunate to work outside for most of my day, that I can recognize those problems, realize sort of where I'm getting into a bit of a funk, and I don't realize it instantly. Like I can be a day or two feeling that negative way, and I can just go somewhere
And I very much do the choose happy. I stop and smell the roses and choose happiness. And so I'll stop anywhere and I will relax,
breathe,
let go of it all. I will focus on something, and it can be anything. It can be a tree, a flower, a blade of grass, an animal, whatever, the clouds. And I will just enjoy that moment. And that moment doesn't have to be long, like 30 seconds. And just enjoying that. And it lets me reconnect. It lets me center myself. It lets me realize that really nothing really matters. And it's all good.
Yeah. It puts into perspective.
Yes.
It's the whole perspective thing.
Yeah.
Because when you actually stop, so we are, I feel as a race now, like when we don't feel good, we distract ourselves. And with these mobile phones and social media, you can just sit and scroll and scroll and scroll and just keep yourself distracted. And when you're distracted, you're not actually connecting in with yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think when you actually spend the time practicing, because I feel like meditation is something you practice. It's like learning how to swim or ride a bike. You know, it's something that takes a bit of time. But when you find that feeling, it's much easier to keep coming back to it. You know, you can do it anywhere, anytime you get overwhelmed, and you find that just breathing, and I'm not saying it's meditation now, I'm just saying at a certain point, you can just start breathing and slowing everything down, focusing inward and just reconnecting with yourself. It allows you to change your perspective in that moment, and then you're off on that happier voyage again.
Happiness.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And like I say, it's just interesting that how easy the negative bias is, and how difficult choosing happiness is. And the concept of, if you base yourself on happiness, well, what happens when the happiness goes away? And I think I understand the concept of it, but
I mean, everything changes.
I think if your happiness, like you said at the start, if your happiness is internal, if you are taking the positive, the world and life is happening for me, not to me, if you take that road, then yeah, you're not, big cheesy grin on your face, full of happiness and excitement every second of every day, but you are on a positive spin, and everything that happens that maybe is a small speed bump in the road or something like that, well, it's just a small speed bump in the road. Yeah. It's fine. I'm still on the road of connected, happy, positive. In harmony. I like that.
Yeah. It's like, it's funny, I want to say, it's what I always seek, but it's within me. So I don't need to seek it.
Okay, now that's interesting.
It's within me.
Yeah.
So it's like what a lot of people seek, but it's within you. So
you've already got it.
I've already got it.
And to be fair, you do need to find it within yourself.
Yeah. So you've got to connect in with yourself to find it. Like, that's how you find it, is actually spending the time, not mindlessly scrolling, not watching your screens, to actually spend the time just with you.
It's very, makes me think of, sort of that monk lifestyle of the external things and materialistic things. Like, that is not happiness.
No, and it's just a distraction, like I just said. I think the important thing is who you are on the inside and connecting in with who you are on the inside. And when you are connected, you can create your reality the way you want it to be, or you can be happy with how things are turning out because it's always working for you, even when it seems like it's not.
Yeah. It's that other thing as well with it. If you are on the connected road, the positive, happy, everything is happening for me in harmony. I quite like that. In harmony, how things just seem to happen better, and like life just seems to, like those people that everything goes right for and they're always kind of happy. But they're not. I mean, people.
I don't think they're that. I don't think it always goes right for them. I think they always just feel good about their life.
Yeah, that's it.
However
it
puts happens.
You on that road.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think it does. I think that, when you shift your perspective and how you're being about life, things, whatever's going on, that's when everything else seems to shift. And it's like you can be just in a funk about something and it's just not working out, and then you actually go in, you connect, and you shift your perspective about it. Suddenly everything slots into place.
Yeah.
And it's just something about being in flow and in harmony with your life, because you're not, just being connected to all the external things. You're actually being you.
Yeah. It makes me think of that. It's sort of that, what do they call it? Victim mindset of things happening to you. And it makes me think a lot about sort of mental health, but also physical health, that when you're in that negative bias and that victim mindset, that things, sickness, illness, just general disease, are worse. Whereas when you're...
That's to do with your energy, frequency, and vibration. Because we are made of energy, and when we are in a lower emotional state, so I say lower, like anger, frustration, anxiety, whatever it is, then your body, your energy body is moving slower, so then it's easier for it to get stuck, and because things get blocked up, because it's not able to move through things, so then you end up feeling unwell. You don't reflect off the viruses and diseases and problems that come at you. They just come and get into your energy body. So when you're feeling happy, you're in a higher frequency, and it just like everything flows in a better way, and you reflect what isn't for you.
Yeah, no, I think you're dead right. And I hadn't really thought about it being connected to happiness, but I think it all is connected to happiness.
Everything's connected. Was it my thing on my podcast? Because it's funny that we've done connection, harmony, freedom.
Yes.
So they're my 3 words under the Way of the Animal podcast. And that's because that is what, for me, is what it's about. Connection, harmony, and freedom. And freedom is like freedom from your negative bias, the negative thoughts, the stories, the programs, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, freedom to choose your own.
Yeah, freedom to be you, freedom to be who you are. The connection is connecting to yourself, connecting to people and your animals in your life in a much deeper way. The harmony is when you're in that state, everything flows in harmony.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's why it's those 3 words that's randomly below the podcast. It's because, to me, that's what life's about. I feel like for me, that's what I want my life to be about. That's who I am and what I want my life to be about. And I can only assume that other people would like to feel that way with their life too. So yeah.
So choose happiness.
Choose happiness. Just choose it. Come on.
So easy. Just choose happiness.
Why haven't you chosen happiness?
Who's ticking the box for unhappiness?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great start to the subject. I think there's about 50 million other podcasts we could make out of this.
So much more in there.
But it's a nice start on thinking about that sort of thing. And I certainly don't have all the answers. I don't know about you.
I don't at all.
I enjoy talking about it and going, but what about this? I don't understand. It's just...
I still don't understand why negative bias is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
But I've always been a firm believer of perspective. Yeah. And you can choose a positive perspective or a negative perspective for the same topic, and it changes your life. Yeah. So choose happiness.
Yep. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.